In this daily drop, we're going to take the DIY project from last week, the 4-foot by 4-foot silver white beadboard modifiers, and put them to work. So let's go. All right, here we are with another episode. This is Tuesday. And what I wanted to do was what is technically part 2 of last week's DIY project. And I wanted to show you at least one way you could use those 4x4 modifiers that fold down to 2x4s to go into your vehicles. So here we have it. This is a wide view of the setup here. And first and foremost is the light source. So what I'm using here in a controlled environment is the Nanlite Forza 60C, but really any 60 plus watt COB light would do. But the one thing I am doing in this situation is I'm using a projector. So I have a 36-degree lens on this projector. And of course, it doesn't have to be this particular light. And it also doesn't have to be a projector. It could be a Fresnel lens with barn doors so you can get some control. But what I love about these projectors is, like a Leica, you can be very precise about where that light goes. Again, you could use a Fresnel with barn doors with a spot to flood feature, and you could get really close to this. But if you want to be really precise, a projector is the way to go. So that's my key source, and you'll see to the camera left side, I also have that second 4x4, and that's basically going to be my fill. So if I step into frame here, you'll see that what I'm going to do is just leave the key the way it is. It's not going to get touched, and it's really about adjusting the fill light. So you can see here, if I pan the fill light off of me completely, that we really have a split lighting or side key situation. And now I'm going to go ahead and pan that fill in so we're looking at it with that white beadboard side. So it's kind of like a little ice cream sandwich. I've got the key light with that projected light, which is my source. And then the fill is just basically grabbing that light and filling it in. Now I'm going to start to pan it, and I'm going to pan it to the silver side. And you can see that that's obviously going to grab more of that key light. And you can feather it a little bit more in terms of how much it's hitting the background. And that background is about 6 feet away from me. And the camera, by the way, is full frame, 85mm lens set to an f2.8, and we're shooting at 2500 ISO. And now when I start to pan that silver side a little bit more, you'll see that what's really cool is if it's in a certain angle, it actually grabs some of that key light and it creates a little bit of a kicker. Now, what I want you to do is just think about scale. If you think about this and you want to light a larger space, you can take this same formula or this same setup and you can just basically increase in terms of your light source, your modifiers, maybe they're 6x6, 8x8s, 12x12s, whatever it's going to be. And of course, that's going to allow the people who are in the space to have more space to move around. So this works really well for an interview setup or a small scene in a small space, but you just scale up based on your situation. Now, the last thing is if you take a look at this frame here and you look at me, I'm bald, and there's a little bit of an issue because my ceilings are black, designed that way because it's a studio space. But we really have that area where there's little to no light. And that might be fine in certain situations, but it's a pretty easy problem to solve. So if you see here, what I'm doing is taking just a smaller piece. It can be larger, but a smaller piece of beadboard. I am attaching that to a 40-inch arm, which is coming off of the keyside C-stand. And that is creating a false ceiling so that when that now comes into the equation, it grabs that light from the key, from the fill, and it fills in that spot that is dark on the top of my head. And that will work with both just the white beadboard fill and also the silver side. Okay, lastly, glasses. So you can see here, even with glasses, this works very, very well. And it can solve a lot of problems that you can run into, for instance, if you were using Rembrandt lighting. This is a very forgiving way to light lots of different types of people. There's a reason split lighting is used so much in narrative work. So there you have it. That is one approach to using those two modifiers from that DIY project. Yes, I know there are C-stands, there are Quacker or platypus or duckbill clamps. Those things do cost money, but the investment is lifetime. That stuff lasts forever. So it's going to cost you money, but it's stuff you can use constantly. There are other ways to hold foam core and beadboard. There are other things that are a little bit less expensive. For my money, I like a Quacker clamp or a platypus or duckbill clamp. I think it works extremely well, is very versatile, and with a knuckle or grip head, it gives you a lot of control. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.